Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm sorry for the technical hitches, but hopefully we can start now. Okay, I'm Eva Jones, and with my colleague Ankara Conference, we're going to present some initial findings and research into peace building through early childhood education and development. Myself, I'm from Albania, and Ankara is from Kosovo, but we represent a network of 6 countries. 5 in the Western Balkans, including Albania, Croatia, Kosovo, Macedonia and Serbia, and also in partnership with our colleagues in Northern Ireland. The project is funded through the EU-EPA Framework Partnership Agreements and is for a minimum of 2 years and began on 1st of December 2012, and we hope if we have a positive evaluation in the middle of this year that we will enable to be given another 2 years funding. So the role of the Proceed Network is to develop a proactive and cohesive network of civil society organisations and governmental stakeholders within the Balkans to promote and implement peace building, reconciliation and tolerance within communities through working with young children under the age of 8 years old, their families, their teachers and in general their communities. There is a strategy for the Proceed Network, and we hope to achieve this through 5 main groups of activities: action research, monitoring and evaluation, advocacy, implementation of a programmatic toolkit within preschool settings, and ensuring quality standards within civil society organisations within the countries. This presentation will address the issue of peace building through early childhood education and development. So where did we begin? Initially, each partner country conducted a rapid situation analysis of the situation in their country regarding early childhood. This rapid review was very broad and very wide and looked at things from health, education, maternity care, provisions for young children, for mothers, etc., and also people's understanding of early childhood. So what did we do? We conducted the situation analysis in each of our countries over a 3-month period. The scope and the questions within the analysis were decided through participatory discussion workshops led by an experienced researcher and representatives from each NGO in each country. We came up with 4 focus areas. What policies and practices, which would include programmes, interventions and services that exist. Who are the people, champions, organisations, stakeholders, service providers or institutions? And what will be our framework and the scope of the project over the next 2 to 4 years? And more importantly, what changes we would like to see in each country and in fact in the Balkans region over the 4-year period. Methodology. The research in each of the partner countries was either conducted by externally hired consultants or staff of the partner organisations. A report format was designed by the external consultant who had trained us, and each country developed their own semi-structured questionnaires or statements for focus groups, stakeholder meetings or interviews. In addition to the interviews, desk reviews were conducted regarding policy, legislation, standards, programmes, grey literature, to gather the necessary information for the reports. So under policies and practices, these were our 3 questions. What examples have we found of innovation or good practice within the region and beyond through the literature review? What were the gaps at regional, national, local level? And what were the main implementation challenges? So the findings. In all of the 5 Balkan countries, there are many laws, many that link with international conventions, and particularly within meet the EU conditions and standards. but the majority of them were found not to deal specifically with young children. In Albania, for instance, there is no law on early childhood care, maternal health or early education. In most of the countries, there is a problem with the implementation of laws. So we have very good written laws, make beautiful documents, but actually implementing on the ground, there is very little, and there is no bodies or organisations that monitor and follow them up. Skills and knowledge of the NGO staff related to research and monitoring or evaluation of policies and practices was very low and needs very much to be improved. The picture related to ECCD, young children, prioritising children's welfare and or that of women is poor and not viewed as a priority issue for most of the governments. Interventions and methodology in conflict prevention, peace building and reconciliation are not part of any ECCD curricula. In fact, when we talk to many ECD practitioners, they would say, but the children had nothing to do with the wars or conflicts that our area suffered, so why would we teach them these things? So there is a need for both theoretical teaching and training on conflict prevention, peace building and reconciliation for educators and teachers. The areas of conflict resolution, peace building and acceptance of differences in relation to civic and democratic education requires an educational programme that's directed first at people's understanding, their acceptance of and empathy for all people and all children at the kindergarten age. As NGOs working on ECCD, they are not as yet addressing peace building, conflict resolution and or reconciliation, and they would need to participate in training and to incorporate their training and learning into their daily practice. Most NGOs we found include some rudimentary form of data gathering within their individual projects, but longer term impact and changes are not monitored. The monitoring and evaluation capacity needs to be developed both in external and internal monitoring, and this is both required by NGOs and governmental agencies. Also, we found that NGOs need to learn how to advocate and lobby for improvements in ECCD. So, who are the people? What capacity do they have? What capacity building do they need? And how would we, as an organisation and network, develop their capacity? So, very positively, we found out that there are ombudsmen in Kosovo, Albania, Macedonia, Croatia, and in Northern Ireland. Croatia and Serbia are the only countries with a dedicated ombudsman for children, with Kosovo having a legal officer undertaking the protection of child rights. And in most countries, there are recognised advocates for child rights, including state agencies and or NGOs. So little advocacy has been done regarding ECCD and the importance of early childhood development or education. Apart from ante or postnatal care, there is little advice provided systematically to mothers or parents on the development and care of young children. Therefore, training and capacity building is required within the education, health and social services sectors to improve the level of knowledge and understanding on ECCD. So, having gathered that information, we then needed to decide what we thought the framework and scope of our project would be. So, how were we going to decide what to include or exclude for an in-depth investigation after the inception phase, and what principles and methodological strategies would guide us? So we agreed that the scope of the project would define early childhood as children from birth to 8 years old. We would use our country reports as a baseline for our work. We would design the action research within each of the country networks through the participants' agreement on the topics and priorities which affected them in relation to early childhood. So we're doing action research because we don't want the participants to be the subject, but we actually want to both build their capacity to undertake action research, monitoring, evaluation, and to design and have input into their programmes. So they are going to be the active co-researchers in the action research process. Okay, our partners. We will all be training the network participants on how to conduct action research. We aim to ensure equal participation, for all the participants to define their needs and interests, to group their needs and interests, identify the participants' roles, and build trust between different participants. What we know is that there can be lots of animosity between governmental organisations or departments, even within the same office building, and certain issues relating to working between NGOs and government. So the stakeholders will conduct the action research on the network's agreed topics. Within the action research, there will be regular reviews, analysis and interpretation of the data, again done by the stakeholders but supported by each of the country's project coordinators and or trainer, and modified to include the new findings. We will include the lessons learned through working together, sharing information at national and a regional level on regular communication. And each of the country project coordinators will be supported by the regional coordinator of the PROCEED network. What changes would we like to see in the country and the region? And what are the indicators that would help us to do this? Our first agreement is that PROCEED is not a project, but it is a process to build both a regional and national action networks. And by action we mean networks that will continue to work together for their goals and is not just a network on paper. And there was a lot of discussion about this where people have joined networks and it was fine while there was funding from an external donor, but once the funding finished then the network was shut down. And the network needs to build the partners' capacity to also conduct successful advocacy at all levels in the Balkans regarding ECCD and of course about the PROCEED network. Okay, Ariana.
One of the reasons, as my colleague just said, we don't want a network only on paper, is because we saw that the cooperation between civil society organizations and government was very bad in all our countries. And we not just want to make it better for now, we want actually systematically to improve the mentality and the culture of war and also the understanding of early childhood education and development. These are the four components that we are actually, the goals that we are trying regarding to our agreement to achieve. One of a very important goal and something that we are working right now on is reconciliation through early childhood education. We have tried to find some toolkits, educational toolkits that we would introduce in our countries and pilot in our countries. We did that. We started with the Croatian toolkit because our countries don't have any other. Actually, in many Western European countries you would find a lot of those, even if you buy one in a library maybe. But really in our countries where we're going through wars, conflicts, these toolkits are not part of the curricula, national curricula, and they are very, very much wanted. So we have on regional level and national level the goal to develop educational toolkit. We started with a regional workshop where we invited preschool educators, directors, municipality workers or directors from municipality offices to participate, where the toolkit was where the Croatian toolkit was introduced. I think it's here. No. Sorry. Okay. Where the Croatian toolkit was introduced, which mostly deals with issues regarding conflict, ethnical conflict, religious conflict, but also has a very, very big focus on disability. We want children to learn together. In all our countries, actually, we have law where education is supposed to be inclusive, which means children with disability learn with other children together. However, in implementing these laws, we have a big problem because we saw that neither parents, nor teachers, nor children can deal with it. And this toolkit is supposed to help both children and parents, and actually and teachers, to improve practices on how to make children learn what disabilities are and how they should deal and help others. Why actually peace education? Well, our countries have been, as you might know, suffered violent conflicts during the last 25 years, let's say. And poor investment in early childhood has been shown to be among society's most important shortcomings. For several reasons, some of those mentioned also yesterday in some presentations, we know that investment in early childhood pays the best interest, also economically. It has been shown that if you invest, the more you invest in early years, actually you will influence the progress or the economical development of your country. So this is one reason. The other one is also we actually want to have a healthier society. And we believe that peace education in early childhood will make that happen. Okay, well, why peace education in early childhood? We know, according to Vygotsky and also some other theories that also have been mentioned yesterday, that every function of a child's cultural development appears twice, first on the social level and later on the individual level. Second, between people, and then inside the child. This applies equally to voluntary attention, to logical memory, and to the formation of concepts. All the higher functions originate as actual relationships between individuals. This social cultural aspect is actually very important, especially in countries where people from different ethnicities live together. And not only that, we are talking about countries where disability and children with disabilities till very late have been hidden from the society. Parents didn't show them, they just kept them hidden because it was a shame, it was so really traditional, old, let's say prejudices, and they still are there, even though we are trying to be politically correct now, so we don't say it, but still we see a lot of, and we believe that peace education in early childhood, if we raise children to be more open-minded, to respect diversity, which the creation toolkit actually emphasizes a lot, it should be starting with early childhood. We see peace education also as as a transformative response to society, social challenges, and as a good way to raise awareness and build understanding regarding prejudices and stereotypes in any category, be it ethnic or religious or gender issues, sexuality, and so on. We also believe that this is a good way to develop concern, empathy in early childhood, and a way to challenge personal and social action, because we believe that it is everybody's responsibility to actually help shape the society, the children that we are trying to educate. Peace education is a tool that can be practiced in everyday life, not only in school. So that's why we try to find to develop a toolkit that can be used at home, in schools, and where ideas from that toolkit actually can be multiply used not only in the school setting. So the creation toolkit for peace building in early years, there was held a workshop in November and December 2013, where the objectives were to promote tolerance and respect for differences among children. We are going to conduct a pilot study, which is to start in each partner country in February this year. And then we will pilot this toolkit in 5 to 10, depends on the country and the agreement that they have probably to have with their ministries, because in some countries you cannot just go and pilot something before you have some agreement with the ministries. So we plan to have a first evaluation of the data by beginning of June 2014. very soon a new international toolkit for peace building developed for early years will be presented and introduced to preschool teachers and educators from the region in Belgrade, which is going to happen actually in the next 3 days. Also, this toolkit will be piloted at the same time the operation toolkit in all 5 countries. 5 to 10 preschools will be chosen in each country, and the first evaluation will be, and the data will be gathered in June 2014. We hope that with the result, we can then have some more information on whether we need to develop something new or we need to adapt it to our context, social context in each country. But we do have the goal that we, at the end, have something that will be on regional level that can be used in every country. Oh, was it? Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much. And there's a little change in the panel. And if it's possible, we have online now Dr. Mikhail Kalajanikis from Greece in web streaming. So he will, if it's possible to move it now, he will talk about mobile application as a motivation force in early years science education. So if it's possible, we will start now with this intervention. Where is the connection? And please, 50 minutes. Hello? As usual, we have problems, audio problems, so I think you have to solve these audio problems and then we will come online. Can you try to solve those problems? Sorry, now that in the meantime you try to solve these problems, I want to tell you that Mrs. Zenta, she will not be available on web streaming for the intervention about some aspects of linguodidactics in promoting language learning in Latvian. Therefore, after the last intervention that will be of Mrs. Irena Cafferri, I will start a little part of the content seminar, so I will need your help to do it, and then we will have a coffee break. Meanwhile, the coffee break, I'll give you some tasks. And then we will come back here in 10-15 minutes. You will see what I've prepared for you, okay? So, if it's not coming, okay. No. So we have to wait with his intervention. There is a problem. Can you go outside and prepare? Okay, since it works, we use microphone.